Dante Alighieri was an Italian poet who, in the early 14th century, wrote one of the most important works in the Western canon, the three-volume poem The Divine Comedy. The first and arguably most well-known installment in this trilogy is the Inferno. In the Inferno, Dante descends to the depths of hell, where he traverses the various domains of the underworld and plays witness to the torments of the damned souls who reside there. This is a journey that Dante must take, though the reason may not be immediately clear. I think it helps to look at where we find Dante before he embarks on this journey. We find him lost in the woods. He's lost his way. He's trying to get back to God. So it can seem counterintuitive that in order to get back to the divine, he would travel to a place that is quite literally as far away from the divine as you could imagine. But when we look at this work as an allegory for the journey of a human being on the path of self-development, it's actually not as counterintuitive as it seems. We are, as human beings, developed through some of our trials and tribulations that we go through in life. And so it actually does make sense that Dante, in order to ascend the mountain, spiritual mountain, he must first begin at the bottom. He has to begin in the underworld. Recently, I found myself in a kind of impasse of sorts. I was questioning some beliefs that I've held for a number of years, and these kinds of experiences aren't unique. If you're a human being, you've probably gone through a period where two or more beliefs that you've held for some time begin to collide with each other. And these moments can be positive. In fact, it's these moments that can really be, really help us forge new paths to follow. Could even inspire others to follow who find themselves in similar predicaments. On the other hand, they can break us. They can break us down. And what I think really makes a difference in terms of which way it ends up going when we get to these kinds of forks in the road or impasses or crises, what seems to really make the difference, in my opinion, is what kind of help you have in those moments, what kind of help you have along the way, what kind of guidance you have available. One of the tools I found to be indispensable in these kinds of moments, during these, could call them crises, one of the tools I found to be indispensable is literature, particularly literature which could be classed as either mythological or spiritual or allegorical. Joseph Campbell, who coined the notion of a hero's journey to describe a perennial archetype that myths and allegories tend to follow, Campbell was adamant that myths, allegories, and spiritual literature exist principally to provide guidance in this life to human beings. In his celebrated interview, The Power of Myth, Joseph Campbell explains that we can get perspectives from these stories, that when we keep these stories in our minds, when we're going through something, and we're able to connect the story to what we're going through, we're able to see some kind of relevance, some kind of connection. What we're really doing is we're taking directions, kind of like, we're looking at maps. One of the principal lessons that I think the Inferno has to offer, if we look at it as an allegory, is it really seems to underscore the importance of having help, of having guidance, because Dante can't make it through the Inferno without Virgil. And many times on the journey, even though Dante has made up his mind, okay, I'm going to go through this journey, there are so many instances where he thinks about turning back, or he starts to doubt his teacher, he starts to doubt himself, he starts to get freaked out and afraid. And Virgil is there to comfort him, to guide him, to rebuke him at times. Sometimes Dante needs some rebuking. Virgil is just such a great teacher. And I think, like I said, I think the Inferno, the relationship that Dante and Virgil have in the Inferno, really underscores the importance of having guidance and having help. So as we're looking at the Inferno as an allegory, and paying attention to the relationship between Virgil and Dante, we might want to look at our own lives and think, who's my Virgil? Or who are my Virgils? We may have more than one teacher, more than one person that we can turn to for guidance in these moments. Even supposing that we get to some kind of a fork in the road, and we realize there's a problem, or there's some maladaptive way that we're handling things in life, we can chart a course towards something better. But along the way, we're still going to have setbacks. We're going to have doubts. We may even at times feel like turning back. And that's exactly what Dante goes through right from the beginning. So on one level, the Inferno is just a story. It's a story about a guy that goes off on a journey to a frightening, fantastical place, sees some horrifying things, meets some interesting people along the way. It's just a story. On another level, which would be looking at it as an allegory, it's still a story, but it's a story that has some kind of relevance, could offer insight into our experience as just regular human beings. We may not be going through a literal inferno. We may not be lost in a literal forest, as Dante was at the beginning. But all of us go through periods of confusion, of doubt, of trying to forge a path for ourselves in this life, trying to make sense of the world, trying to make sense of who we are. And fortunately, unfortunately, depends how you look at it, it just seems to be the case that we really only get to where we're going in that respect through trials and tribulations, through challenges, through our own personal infernos, whatever those might be, for any given person. And so in that respect, the journey that Dante undertakes in the Inferno is actually a journey that we all take at certain points in our lives, and in fact, at many points in our lives. Because life isn't just one defining moment, it's many moments. So in this series, what I'll be trying to do is pick out certain characters, certain themes that are recurrent in the Inferno, but rather than focus on it just from a literary point of view, I'll be trying to connect these characters and themes to things that are common to the human experience in the real world. The way I look at it is the whole world for the last year and a half has been going through nothing short of an inferno of its own. If Joseph Campbell were still with us today, I have absolutely no doubt that he would be encouraging people to return to these old allegories and myths for guidance. So the first video that I'm probably going to do in this series will just be like a summary of the Inferno. I mean, I definitely recommend reading the work yourself if you do get a chance. I think I gained a little more appreciation for why this work has endured for so long. I don't know if I ever really understood, having never read it in full, I never really understood why this work was, so highly regarded. And so I recommend reading it. It is definitely a worthwhile experience to actually read it. But if you don't have time to do that right now, I think it would be helpful to just give a summary. So I'll probably do a video that just summarizes it. Um, as far as I don't know where this could go. As far as like what what topics I might want to cover, I have a few ideas already. I want to do a video on a couple of characters that Dante interacts with. I want to do a video covering, just Dante's relationship with Virgil and Virgil's role as the teacher. Um, I want to do a video that focuses on doubt, which is a recurring theme in the Inferno. Um, Many times throughout the work, Dante wants to turn back or doesn't see how he can go on, and Virgil is there to comfort him and guide him. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to cap this video off by just giving sort of a preview of what's to come. I hope this is an enjoyable experience for some folks. So let's dig into it.